Good evening. Welcome to the October 4th Wyndham Raymond Board of Directors meeting. We are in the Wyndham Town Council chambers. It is 6:30. Could I have a roll call, please, Mr. Superintendent?
You sure can. Kate Brooks.
Present.
Eric Colby.
Present.
Jenny Cummins.
Present.
Don Dillon. Diana Forslin.
Here.
Marge Cavoni.
Here.
Pete Hensler.
Here.
Anna Keeney.
Here.
Scott McLean.
Here.
Genevieve Delano.
Okay, if you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know, I forgot how tall you were. It was kind of like to your back. Yeah. I found myself looking up there because you were up there. Okay, everybody. So there are no adjustments to the agenda this evening. I will open public input if there is anyone in the audience who would like to speak on something that is not on the agenda. Seeing no one, I will close public input. And first on the agenda, we have Lisa Gano, who is Director of Student Services, and she will give us a program update on student services. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Can you guys see my presentation on the other side?
I cannot.
Uh-oh.
I don't know how these work. Is that?
Oh, it's up there. Oh, it's up there now.
Oh, it's over there.
But you can't see it down there?
No.
Unit?
Probably because it's not on.
Yes, it doesn't.
Toshiba? Thank you.
You got the button?
I don't know.
Do you want to see
Maybe
Mark?
Bill knows how to turn this one on. He's pointing, but I don't know what he's pointing to.
He's making a clicker motion.
Gotta get in front of it.
Here he comes.
He's coming.
Here he comes.
Sorry.
Okay, that is a group that doesn't know what I'm talking about.
It's just like at home.
Every time. Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
We think it's coming up.
Hey,
Well, Toshiba.
Phil, how are you?
Hey,
How are you? Nice to see you.
Yay!
Yay! Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So thank you for having me. I was asked to come and talk about the special education ESY programming this evening. So I thought I would just start because we use a lot of initials in special education and people don't always know what that means. So I thought I would just start by talking to you about what ESY is. And so ESY, the letters stand for Extended Year Services. And ESY services are available to students who receive special education and or related services. And they're provided to students with a disability that's beyond the normal school year of August to June. ESY services are provided in accordance with a child's IEP and at no cost to the parents. In RSU 14, we've developed ESY forms to aid IEP teams in determining if the student meets the eligibility requirements and would require ESY programming. So there's some state and local guidance, state and federal guidance around regression and those sort of things. So we simplified the process for IEP teams. And it is the IEP team that determines that ESY, and if they determine that the child needs those services, then the district is responsible for providing the transportation, both to and from. So since coming on board RSU 14 a few years ago, the past practice was to provide services in 1 to 2 hour blocks, sometimes per day, sometimes per week, or any combination thereof, over the course of 4 to 5 weeks, usually in July and August. Mike Kelly, in talking with him, transportation was sort of a nightmare, as I shared here, but we were literally bringing students to Manchester School and Wyndham Middle School and Wyndham High School for 1 or 2 hour blocks, and in many cases the students were on the bus or van longer than they were actually receiving their services. So we looked at what we could do differently. So in July and August of 2016, we changed the start and end times so that all programs start and ended at the same time and were unified. And what we mean by that is we had programming start at 8 and end at 12, Monday through Thursday. Typically the first day after July 4th break, and then run through the first week of August. That really streamlined the transportation process for the process for the transportation department, and then it also allowed us to begin to transfer the students who were coming to the KJS, or the Kindergarten Jump program, and the Boost, where before parents were transporting them. So we're running the vans, we've just added those groups on. This past summer, we continued the unified program and we made some adjustments. So we moved the K-5 group from Manchester down to Wyndham Primary for a couple reasons. It's a climate-controlled building, and then we have some students who require that now, given their medical needs. And the biggest bonus really for all students was access to appropriate sized desks and chairs and playground equipment and that sort of thing. The other benefit is, given the needs of our students that attend ESY programs who have nursing or medical needs, we were able to keep the nurse in one central location, and she could just move between the primary school and the high school. We also, in addition to moving the kids from Manchester, we moved any students from the middle school that were receiving ESY services to the high school. So just 2 locations there. So looking this past year, we had a total number of students who attended ESY in the district of 62 students. And so with the breakdown of that, I thought I would share with you is, so in the K-5, we had 38, and we really have 2 separate programs, and I kind of combined it just in terms of like life skills. So those would be some of our Bridges programs. We have the Goals Behavior program, and then sometimes kids are a combination of both programs, or during the course of the regular year they might access one of those programs for some behavioral support or social skills support. And so they need more than the kids that typically go to the resource room. So that's how we kind of divided out the 2 groups. And so we had 15 students in that smaller, in the life skills kind of group, and then we had 23 students that I'm calling it specially designed instruction. I think during the break, the staff, or during the ESY program, the staff were calling it tutorial. But our focus was really, it was not tutorial. We were really looking at reading, writing, and math, and where the kids were. I'm going to talk more about what that program looked like. At grade 6-12, we had a total of 24 students. So again, 11 students within that life skills behavior component. And those are the students that are typically more cognitively challenged and that sort of thing. And then again, the reading, writing, and math group was 13 students. We also are responsible for transporting our ESY, our out-of-district students. So we had a higher number last year, but this past summer we transported 6 students. So we had 3 at the K-5 level in 2 different programs, and 3 students at the 6-12 level in 3 different programs. So I mentioned that because that's an additional burden on the transportation group. Marge?
Not to interrupt.
Yeah.
Is there any way you could forward this presentation to the
Oh,
board,
absolutely.
so we wouldn't have
Yeah.
to make? No, I'm having a hard time reading
that.
it.
Okay. No, I'm so sorry. Yes, I absolutely would
Thank
send
you.
it to you for sure.
Thank you.
And so really it's a big undertaking, and so I thought it was important for you to share the number of people that it takes to coordinate the process. In the past, we've not had an ESY coordinator, so that duty fell to Laura Page and then Kim Dubé, who's my assistant, but it's a lot to coordinate. So this past year we created a stipend position for the coordinator, had people apply, and Lorna Dunn was chosen as the person to do that. It's a long commitment. It really begins in October and runs all the way through August. So, and then you need to be present during the ESY session. So it's a big commitment. This year, because of the sort of 4 programs, we needed 4 special education teachers. We were able to hire 2 staff from RSU 14, but then we had to go out side, and through School Spring we're able to hire 2 additional teachers. One of the challenges is for ESY you really need to have a special education teacher overseeing the programming, and in the past we always hadn't done that. So just to keep us in compliance, we're now using certified special ed teachers. We needed 20 ed techs, so those 20 ed techs were 14 were RSU 14 staff who got some extra work over the summer, and then we needed 6 extra. And part of that high ratio is we had some new students move in that began their educational career with us at the ESY program. So they had a higher staff ratio than what we were typically accustomed to. So we were able to bring some extra staff on board. And then we have a lot of the kids at the Wyndham Primary School that when they're with familiar staff, you can back off some of the resources, but we had unfamiliar staff and continuing the program. So we had to do a little bit of higher one-on-one support. We also have students who are still toileting and that sort of thing. So if staff is in the bathroom, you need staff to continue instructing. We hired an educational interpreter. One of our students uses that, so we hired someone over the summer to continue that service. And again, the nurse I mentioned before. In addition to receiving their regular ed special services, they also get support related services. So we had 2 speech therapists who split that duty, 1 occupational therapist that had done some work for us when one of our therapists was on maternity leave. So she was familiar to us, familiar to the students. So she was willing to come back and do the ESY for us. And then the physical therapist is our issue 14. So we had a total of 31 staff in addition to transportation supporting the students that we have. I just want to do a shout out. This is to Mike Kelly and Barney Kucher. Without their support, it wouldn't have run as seamlessly as they did. Barney and Lorna, as the coordinator, created a Google Doc, and they literally communicated daily with, who's not coming or who's running late or that sort of thing. So it was even faster than email. They just kept that document open. So they are phenomenal at transporting our students with that. So how did it go? So in terms of attendance, we had at the K-5 group, we did a little bit better. We had 85% and 83% in the 2 programs, and then at the high school it was 78 and 71. So when we were reflecting back on the non-attendance, really the issue that gets into is summer is so short, and Melissa may speak to this when she talks, but by the time we got out of school at the end of June, there were only a few days before July vacation. So we found this year that families took vacation during that 5-week block. And in some cases, they might have not taken the whole week. So we had previous family engagements beyond the vacation. So, a wedding that the family might have left on Friday, and then the child missed the following Monday, but was back on Tuesday. Another thing we ran into was summer camps. So for the littler ones, we had some kids who were actually going to Pine Tree Camp. So that's all day. So that's certainly appropriate for them, and we want them to be there. And so said, go the week you're going to go and come and join us when you're not at camp. And then we had some high school students who actually were attending some sports camps. So I listed basketball as an example. So, week-long basketball camp at Thomas College, and so they miss a week of summer school. And then we have students who just have historically had attendance issues, who we were hoping that if they could get in the ESY and in a smaller, kind of an abbreviated day for them in a smaller group, that might help. But we had some success, but not 100%. So that's sort of our goal. Celebrations of ESY in that extended block, we had a greater amount of focus on instruction versus travel time. So that's a super plus for us to be able to have kids in front of us ready to learn. We had seamless transportation services, so no coordinating for boost, and it all ran perfectly. And then we also had students who participate in specialized programming. So some of the life skills or behavior kids, I just listed an example of like the ACE curriculum. They're able to continue in those modules, like not skipping a beat, and we're able to continue right through the first week of August. So it's like a 2-week break, and they're back with us the last week of August, and they pick right up where they left off. So the ACE curriculum, for that, I could talk about that more later, or another time. But it's we've partnered with the New England Center for Children out of Boston, and it's primarily designed for students with autism, and we work with kids all the way from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade, and it's academic, social, life skills, the whole thing, and it's a really cool thing. If you want to hear more about it, I'm happy to have Julie Packard come in and talk about it, because it's pretty special. The other celebrations we have is that the grades 6 to 12 group, they are receiving targeted instruction to prevent their regression, which is what the law states. But then because of that extended block, we were able to focus on skills to start to close some of those gaps in the reading, writing, and math. They knew where they were there for the 4 hours, so we had their whole attention for that time. Dan Jackson was the teacher that oversaw that and did a really nice job. Students in grade 5 received special designed instruction also in reading, writing, and math, given a circuit model. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. So the students received that, again, the extension, the regression, targeted skills, but then also closing the gap a little bit. So we had the privilege of having an ESY coordinator with Lorna, as I've stated, but then we also had Carrie Thurston, who is a consultant for us on the special education side and then the RTI side. So she was really able to design curriculum that allows us to focus on the academic using a multisensory approach, but it incorporates the rigor, the learning targets, and then individual student IEP goals. So the students were based on data. So as special ed teachers were referring kids and the teams were determining that they needed to come to special education, ESY, the teachers would submit this form. I don't know if you can see it, but they would put in their email address, the student's name, what grade they were in, their DRA level, their spring NWEA, and for both reading and math. And we use that to help form groups to determine, regardless of what grade the child was in, what were their needs and what were their targeted skills. So it really helped us to do a better job focusing on IEP goals, but more importantly, those gap skills. We were able to, let me go back a second. So we set a daily schedule for that group, which incorporated the reading, writing, so I can show you what that looks like as well. So when kids came in, we grouped them by, originally in the 2 groups, so we're again using the same color coding that we're using on the data walls. We had kids in the red and orange group, which for us are those ones we really need to look at, are a bigger gap between their skill level and where they should be, and then the yellow and green group. And so what we ended up doing, because of the numbers and the staff that we had, we combined the red and orange and the green and yellow into 2 groups and actually had them in separate classrooms, so we really could create some specific instructions. When I send you this PowerPoint, there's a lot of links that you'll be able to click on so you can see the actual instruction, what it looked like. We did a lot of centers, so we actually had a carnival day for the math, and so this is just some pictures of the kids, and so they were really excited, and some of them on the last day were sad that it was ending. So I have to thank Melissa for bringing Lucy Calkins writing, because we based our writing off the Lucy Calkins model, and so the kids were very well engaged for reading, writing, and math. And then for ESY for this coming year, next steps, we'll be meeting with the ESY coordinator, so Lorna's agreed to do that again, the special ed coaches and the site coordinators, and we're going to talk about our glows. So those are the things we'd like to celebrate, and we want to continue, and then identify our grows. So where are some areas that we need for either improvement or refinement. So we're planning for ESY now.
Anybody have? Jenny?
You use the NWEA spring testing and the DRA testing for the baseline.
Yes.
Now, did you do follow-up?
So we knew the kids were going to be tested in the fall, so we have our list of students, and they're in the process of doing their NWEA now. So as soon as everybody's complete, we'll get on the NWEA site and pull their scores off. And I know the teachers are already in the process of assessing with the DRA, so as soon as those are complete, they're Christine, if you want to talk about those, but we're having the district data wall still. So RES, I think, are up for the kids that they've tested, and then Wyndham Primary School's working on theirs. So we'll have the comparison to show the growth.
So that will.
Yep, and I'm happy to share that with you later. Sure. Yep.
Okay, what about the DRA?
Yeah, so the same thing. So the staff, because not all the staff that I had working were our staff, we talked about having them do it at the end of the session, but it was kind of crunched, at the end for time, because we really had them, like, they were actively engaged from the time they started till the time they ended, and I didn't have an extra teacher that was certified in doing the trained to my level of doing the DRA, so we felt it was better to wait and have them tested by their classroom teacher in the fall. They know, and then Carrie still is on site, so she can help us if there are specific questions about kids, and again, that'll be part of our reflection. So if that wasn't the measure we should be using, what should we, should we add additional data and that sort of thing? Yeah. How those kids did, absolutely. Yeah, and I can sanitize it, so just like student A through 1 through 26 or 38, so you guys can see where they ended up for sure. We can do that.
Now this is a program that we run every summer, correct?
Yes, yeah, and it's IEP driven. We have to do it. It's part of Chapter 101, so we're required to provide special ed services.
Have the numbers changed?
A little bit, yeah. So we're trying to, I guess in a better way, with fidelity, determine which students need to be in the program. It was a little loosey-goosey, and I don't mean that to be critical or in a way, but depending upon who was running the IEP meeting or what data had been collected, some kids got to come who maybe didn't need to come, and kids who should have come didn't come. So we're really trying to have it be with these forms for the IEP team to review, that it doesn't matter whether you go to Raymond Elementary or Wyndham Primary, if your data is the same and your progress towards your IEP goals is the same and you meet the criteria for what the state sort of outlines, we want you. And sometimes we just have parents say, summers are our downtime and, thank you, but no thank you. So in those cases, we try to provide work for the, similar work for them to do at home in the car, whether it's flashcards or whatever. Yeah. Anybody else got?
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this question.
Sure.
If the program's called Extended Year Services,
Correct.
where did we come up with an acronym of ESY instead of EYS?
You can thank the DOE for that. Well, sometimes it's ESYS, so Extended School Year Services. So, yeah.
The way your mind works.
I get it. Yeah.
It's got to be right.
I know. Is it bothering you? We can change it on our internal slides. Take a breath. It'll be okay.
Was I the only one that was thinking that?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I caught it, but I knew.
Okay.
Yeah, you knew.
It doesn't
Don't
make
tell
sense,
him
but
that.
it's one of those,
Exactly.
like, things you just like.
Right. It is what it is. Yeah. So
I was just hoping it wasn't a typo.
No, it wasn't a typo. No, it's not a typo. So, and it's hard because if you call it summer school, people have all different names. So we just wanted to have an opportunity to share with folks that it is IEP driven. Our goal is, to, as we reflect back, to make sure that we got all the kids that needed to be there. And so really helping special education teachers and IEP teams to make sure that they're going through the process early enough to notify parents. So we really want to get out ahead of it. And, I'm sure we could pick the dates already for ESY for 2018. So we're try to be pretty consistent and align with Boost as well. So.
This is a 5-day.
4 days. So we
It's
do
4
Monday
days.
through Thursday.
Okay.
So it ends up,
Good.
Ideally this year with the holiday being on I think it was is it a Monday or Tuesday? It was Tuesday. So we just did Wednesday, Thursday, the first 2 days. But we try to run it for 5 weeks. So we'll see where July 4th falls.
Yep.
What happens, so, I have to be respectful of Bill Hansen as well. Sorry, Bill. But they are so gracious in giving us the space within the schools,
Right.
and literally we pack up and the janitors are standing there, like custodians are like, could you please, when are you going to be done? Because they have deadlines they have to meet to get the rooms clean and get school open. So it's such a short window. So we are so grateful to Wyndham High School and Wyndham Primary School for letting us use their facilities. And the teachers are great about letting us be in their classrooms. And so it wouldn't be as successful without the staff.
I'm pretty impressed with the way that you've consolidated the services. I think it's phenomenal.
Thank you.
With respect to transportation, not that that's the reason why we do it.
No, yeah.
But facilities and programming and efficiency of use of staff and the grouping. I mean, everything that you've described to me sounds like it's really top notch.
Thank you. I
So
appreciate
it's great.
that. It's been a journey, but everybody's been supportive. So at first I was like, now they're okay. It's just Lisa. No. They're used to me now. All right, so I'm going to switch my screen if people don't have any questions. I have Melissa's. Do you have a question for me? Or? No? Okay. You're excited. You want to work at ESY next summer, don't you? All right, I'm going to switch over to Melissa's presentation because her presentation is on my board. You ready, Melissa?
So what we're going to do is we're going to flow into the next one, because you're going to do the grouping, right? The group. So, and this is on the curriculum instruction and assessment update. So Christine Hessler, who's the director of curriculum, is here along with Melissa.
So in full disclosure, Melissa is the person who runs and has taken over the Jumpstart and Boost program and has taken it from a level that is skyrocketed through the ceiling. So I'm here just to look pretty tonight, honestly, because the way that she has transformed and organized, you just heard what Lisa's undertaking has done. Melissa has done the same. So I'm excited for her to share and get the full credit, because this program would not be where it was. We started this and she's made it 10 times better. Her background and her strengths are the early literacy skills, and she is knocking it out of the park. So it's not my thing at all. This is totally her, and it's been really awesome to see it happen. So I can push buttons for you.
Thank you.
Melissa, are you going to let her sit there? And
Of course.
Yeah, you need to know the unbelievable job, because she is the first contact that many people have, and she convinces them to come to Jumpstart, and she follows up. Some of the conversations are amazing, and she is patient, and she has a way to help parents understand that this is what we need to do, and they leave cheering. So, it's a special gift that she has. So,
Thank you, Christine. Oh, my dad can hold on.
yeah, well,
Thank you. Okay, so we will talk about the Jumpstart program and the Boost program today. The Jumpstart program, this was year 5 for RSU 14, bringing that in.
I know.
And that is for incoming kindergartners, so kids who haven't already been in the district. And then last year was year 1 of piloting the Boost program, which was for kids who are finished kindergarten and we're moving into first grade. We'll talk more later. We really revamped that with Carrie Thurston's help again. Revamped that completely and added a second class for that as well. So that was year 2. So Jumpstart, just to review, I know some of you are newer to Jumpstart. The Jumpstart program, we also run Monday through Thursday, 8 to 12. We actually started both of these programs before the 4th of July. We already, because we end early in August for the facilities to get ready and to the kids and everyone can have a little break. The programs are actually designed to be 25-day programs. So we already are at 19 days. If we had started after the 4th, we would either be at 17 days or going another full week in August, which would be hard for families and parents to commit to. For these 2 programs, because it's by invitation, based on either their kindergarten screening data for Jumpstart or their kindergarten data for the Boost program, it is invite, and so we only have 30 slots for the programs.
For each?
For each, 30 for Jumpstart, yes, and 30 for Boost. So we do ask parents to make that commitment. So we prefer that if they have camps or vacations planned, the way we word it is that we just would appreciate them letting another child have the slot. And really, for the most part, parents are very accommodating to that and completely understand, because if I was on the other end and it was their child that couldn't go and someone else had signed up and only came for 5 days, that would be unfortunate. So the Jumpstart program, Monday through Thursday, and 8 to 12. It is literacy only, and it's a very rigorous. The kids are busy from the minute they walk in at 8, and they're busy right through till 12, and they are exhausted, which makes for an easier afternoon at home or daycare, I think. But that said, it is multisensory. They are moving constantly. They really are not at their desks, with the exception of their 45 minutes of centers, and even that, they're moving from table to table, doing hands-on. There's a lot of dancing and a lot of singing. There are songs that I can't get out of my head until about September, because I hear them over and over. And even those times when they're in the hallways going to recess, they're constantly still doing their letter sounds and their letter songs. So there's lots of movement involved as well. They make the letters with their bodies. They're not sitting, for sure. It is designed for those at-risk learners that are coming into kindergarten. So we do use the dial kindergarten screening tool to determine that, as well as the number of letter sounds that they know coming in. The last 2 years, the number of children having 0 letter sounds at kindergarten screening has made all of our kids have come in with 0 for these past 2 years. But they've not left that way. So
that's right.
That's important.
Yep.
All right. So this year for Jumpstart, we had two classrooms, 15 students each, and we use, again, their letter sound knowledge and their dial screening scores. We have 2 teachers and 1 volunteer in each classroom. So there are 3 adults for 15 children. And then on site, I am there every day, and so my role when I'm there during the day is I do all the parent contact. So when the kids are running late, the kids are crying and don't want to come in from the car, moms and dads are nervous, I do all the parent contact, so the teachers are completely focused on teaching the entire 4 hours that they're there. So if anything comes up, I'm the one that emails and takes care of that. If kids need breaks or kids need walks, I'm the one, someone's not feeling well, I do all that for them. The teachers just kind of open the door and yell my name, and there I am. And so that the teachers really can just be completely focused on the kids and teaching during those 4 hours.
We also get professional development continuously, so I'm always talking with the teachers about what things could be tweaked, what things to add, what things to push back on, pull back on. Staff continues to ask really great questions. They really want what's best for the kids. They want the kids to be successful not only in the summer but in the school year. We also added last year, so we added weekly data meetings. So with both of the programs, we meet once per week, just the Jumpstart teachers, and we look at all of the new data for those 30 kids. And that allows us to move kids, regroup kids, decide which kids we want to really add more emphasis on letter sounds or letter skills. So I've, even though it's a program that's already planned and created by the creators of Kindergarten Jumpstart, by looking at data continuously, we're always able to make tweaks in the best interest of the kids. Because we do collect data day 1, day 10, and then day 19 of the program. So all the kids in Jumpstart get their letter sounds and their letter names untimed, as well as their letter sounds and their letter names timed. On all 3 of those days in Jumpstart, so we're constantly looking at that.
And I think one of the pieces of the staff this year that was hired, a couple, is it 2 or 3, were new.
3, yeah.
3 of them were new teachers that you hired this summer to teach in our schools, and they spent the summer with Melissa learning how to look at data, like coaching all year long, and were able to go through the program, and like they were super excited to have that experience. And then they started school like, I've got this, like. It was really neat to see their confidence build and for them to feel really comfortable. Like Emma, you had said it, just the enthusiasm this year was just amazing with brand new teachers coming in. So
yeah, it was a very high energy staff this year. Not to discredit the staff we had in the past, but they were very enthusiastic, very eager to learn and do well. So it was exciting. So as far as the results that we had, these are just the timed measures. So on day 1, we did have 10% of our 30 kids who had met the fall benchmark already for the letter naming fluency. So one of the things that happens, because we only have 1 day's worth of data to invite them on, which is kindergarten screening, sometimes kids are just nervous if it's their first time walking into the elementary schools. Sometimes they're just not feeling well, and it's like one measure. So we did have 10% of them that had met the fall benchmark of naming the letters, which is 8. So being able to name 8 letters in a minute. On day 1, 34% of those kids, of the 30, knew 0 letter names at all. But by the end, 61% of the kids had met that fall benchmark for kindergarten, which is 8, and 7% of them had actually exceeded the fall benchmark for letter names.
It's amazing to me. They come in with nothing and they're already past their benchmark that we're doing now for kids.
I know. Yeah. But once they sing those songs 25 times a day, they know it. Did you have a question, Kate?
Do have any of those children had preschool experience?
Some had. So that's a great question. So it really varies, and we don't know that either until they come in. So you have some kids who have been going to preschool, and then it goes all the way to the other end. We have kids who have never left mom or dad and have never even been to daycare or a sitter.
Right.
So for those kids, it's a great experience, not only just for their letter sounds, but just that whole experience of you come to school and mom or dad leave you at the door and you walk in and you sit down and you have to follow directions. Right. So we have a very vast pool of kids that come that again are completely unknown. You just don't know until day 1 when they come, and then you can pretty quickly determine who has not. With
Mike and Bill working with us to get those 2 extra days before the 4th popped in really was a huge transition, because it was just those babies there, and they were able to make it work. So the buses, and we got those 2 extra days, and then they had time with mom and dad, and then they came back. So it ended up where the 4th fell, and we kind of said, geez, do you mind? Could we? And Mike was great. He's like, we could do this. And again, it made a huge difference.
A huge thank you to Mike for that. He didn't even bat an eye. He said, if that's what you want, as long as we get the drivers, it can happen. And it was really helpful for them just to come for the 2 days and have a long weekend because of the 4th and not come back for 6 days, almost a whole week. They come back. For the letter sound fluency, which one could argue the letter sounds may be totally more important than the letter names, because the sounds are what they need to actually put words together. On the first day, one student, so 3%, one student had actually met the fall benchmark. 90% of the kids, the 30, had 0 letter sounds in a minute on the first day. By day 19, 86% of those 30 kids had met the fall benchmark of letter sounds.
Wow.
18% of them had exceeded the fall benchmark for letter sounds. So very exciting. There's a lot of hard work by the kids and the teachers as well. And the parents. There is a parent component at home every night. The kids come home with a bag every night that has books to read and videos of letter sounds to watch and the poems and the letter of the day. So the parents have all of the work that they did during the day. And so there's a parent piece in there as well. So Boost is again for our incoming first graders, so all kids who have been with us during the school year. That was last year we piloted that with Carrie Thurston's help. I think we were one of maybe 2 or 3 districts that was piloting this for her, and we just had one class of 15 kids, and that class actually wasn't full. I think we ended up with 11 or 12 that actually came after all the registration time. It does incorporate the new redesign, completely redeveloped by Carrie. So thank you to her for that. So it incorporates the reading with guided reading groups. So teachers are having to constantly look at data, regroup, plan actual guided reading groups for the kids. A spelling component, the writing workshop component. They do pre-teach the first unit from the Lucy Calkins Writing Units of Study from first grade. They pre-teach that in the summer. So when the kids come into first grade, they already feel like confident with that narrative unit because they've had it in the summer. She also worked with speech and language clinicians in various districts to incorporate a complete language development piece every day during centers, a lot of phonemic awareness as well as phonics, and again, there's still a lot of movement, dancing and singing in that program as well. So very multisensory to meet all kids' learning needs.
Were there more than, what do you have, 30 in that program?
30.
30? Was there a need for more than 30 slots?
That's a great point. So the program is designed for those kids that are on the cusp. So our current end of kindergarten DRA benchmark is a 4. So the program was designed for kids who were a high 2 or a 3 that were just ready to meet the 4, and that by kind of taking the summer off, you would take the risk of making a slide. So they just needed that extra 5 or 6 weeks. We had, again, we invited 30 of those kids that were at the high 2s and 3s, but because of, vacations, camps, another piece we had more so for Jumpstart than Boost was we had a number of, at least 5 or 6 parents who couldn't commit because their child's daycare was outside of the district. And so those parents really did try, and they thought, can I switch daycares? How can I make this work? And in the end, and even a couple did actually take their lunch break, drive back out, get their kids, which that's a huge commitment. So we did invite 30 that were at the high 2, 3, and then we got no's for various reasons, and so we're able to invite more that were more struggling readers, so A's and 1s. So when we see the data, that'll be important to point out. So I wouldn't say we necessarily needed more than 30. We did fill the 30, and then 3 children who were registered and then did not end up attending.
So we lost 3.
So we lost 3, which is unfortunate. So we ended up with 27. So we had the 2 classrooms. They also had 2 teachers and a volunteer. In each of those classrooms, we used their spring DRA score as well as teacher input from the teams, their RTI teams and the standards-based teachers teams as well, to choose those invites. I was on site. Another advantage of moving to the primary school this year, beyond the ones that Lisa mentioned with the climate control and the playground equipment and actual furniture that was appropriate for our size children, is that we were able, Bill Hansen was fabulous and just said, what wing would you like? And he gave us a wing where the 4 classrooms were literally right side by side. We had a room across the hall that I could use kind of as my, just working out of space, so the kids knew where to come and teachers knew where to come, and then a separate classroom, and he was kind enough to get his staff to move a full-size fridge down there so that we had, because we do provide breakfast and snack for them every day in Jumpstart and Boost. So for the milk and the snacks, everything was right there in one contained space, which was very helpful. So I provided the same services for the Boost program as I did the Jumpstart program. They also had weekly meetings with data where we were constantly grouping and regrouping kids. The teachers, the 4 teachers we had in Boost, they really knew their strengths and they knew their areas where they were trying to learn as teachers. So they worked as a team phenomenally. So when they saw 2 kids in the other classroom who need a little extra help with letter sounds, why don't you send those 2 in during our center time? And your strength is writing workshop, we'll send these 3 over. So they were very open to doing that throughout the day, and the kids were very flexible about that as well. So as far as our DRA, that's what one of the assessments that we used for the Boost program. We also assessed them at day 1, day 10, and day 19 with the DRA, with a phonological awareness assessment, and with their sight word assessments. So we had 4% of those 27 kids who had ended up meeting the end of year kindergarten benchmark in the spring. I think it was just those 2 kids, and the 2 kids that happened when we did the invite list in April. When they were reassessed in June, they had gotten it. But of course, that's also a great reason to come and keep up with that over the next 6 weeks. By day 19, 50% of ours had met the end of year kindergarten benchmark. And so I think it's important to note there, when we talked about how it was designed for those high 2s and 3s, and we ended up inviting the A's and 1s, it would be unrealistic to expect kids who had ended the school year at a DRA level A or DRA level 1 to be a 4 after 19 days of instruction. So that's really a whole year's worth of instruction. So that's where the numbers may look lower, but I broke it down a little bit on the next slide. But just keeping in mind that there were several kids that they all made growth. Just making an A to 4 would be a leap. And the exciting news is 27% of those 27 kids actually exceeded the end of year kindergarten benchmark and got to a DRA 6, and 1 got to an 8. Actually.
1 got to an 8.
So, but when you consider all of the kids A through the 4, 69% of them did move at least 1 DRA level, regardless of where they were. As the sight words, our current kindergarten end of year benchmark is to know 25 sight words on the first list of sight words from the Teachers College spelling curriculum. On day 1, 74% of our kids did actually read those 25 words. We're just working on putting those 25 words into context when they were reading books, which is a different skill. And none of the kids had met the end of first grade benchmark, which is 75 sight words. And of course, they were in kindergarten, so we wouldn't have expected them to hit that. But after the course of the 19 days, 84% of them had met the 25, and 42% of them had actually gone to the 75 words from the end of first grade. So the sight word increase was okay. And just ending, we do a survey at the end, which I did consider last year's parent comments into the tweaks that we made for this year, and we'll continue to do so for next year. But just some of the comments. I love this program. We're forever grateful for this experience. That was a family who actually had come to Jumpstart and Boost. Boost has been fantastic, definitely seen improvements. It's amazing the progress our child has made in just six weeks. We were so pleased that he was chosen for the program. The program was a huge help in getting my child ready for kindergarten, and we were recommending this program to other parents.
So another really nice piece is when we planned this for the summer, we hinge, and I kind of pray and hope, we were able to pay for our Boost teachers and our breakfast through extended Title I grants. Sometimes there are leftover funds from the state, and you can put a bid in, you put in a project, and we were chosen again last year. I mean, we have it in our budget because we would never want to take this away, but it's really nice when I'm able to go in and see Mr. Davis and say, we got it. So we were granted $11,000 last year, which paid for the salaries of our Boost teachers and all of breakfast. And so again, if it opens, I have everything ready to go and keep our fingers crossed, but it's always nice. There's nothing I would change about this piece. I mean, I would highly recommend that we continue this, but it was kind of nice to be able to have a break on that piece. And like I said, I think the biggest part is you go into schools now and you see the kiddos and they're confident. whether it's Boost and they're going in as writers and readers and they've got that confidence, or your little ones coming in that know school, they know routines, and I think that is the biggest piece that we can give to our kiddos. So
Have you followed any of the students from the Jumpstart to see how they've done year over year since they've done so well in Jumpstart? And of course, some of them had Boost last year.
Right.
I know. Have you followed?
We haven't.
any of
I
them?
haven't
Do you have any data?
I mean, we've tracked. I mean, we could pull names. Honestly, Marge, once we start the school year, it's like a scramble. But we could pull lists and see, because we keep, pieces where kids are. Now that we have established data walls, that's much easier to do. Each school now has a data wall that is consistent across the RSU. So now for us, it's much easier to take these names and then check them. We could take last year's names and check them. But remember, they go back to their home schools and it becomes a little fuzzier.
I'm just curious because I know some of those students end up coming from CBS services prior.
Right.
And evidently, I would say some of them, because of the large percent, have to have made, be some in that count that have made some strides. And I was just curious if it sticks with them. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like,
are they in Title I? Are they, are they still at benchmark growth and things like that?
I think now that we have, and I think now that we have the district data walls, it would be much easier to do. I mean, I think it would be great to pick like a core group of 5 or 10 and just follow them through the years. It would be a great project to take on. But I think when I looked at for the Boost invites for this year, of course, I could quickly see the Jumpstart kids that came last year. And we did only have three kids that had been in Jumpstart the year previously that were invited to Boost for this coming year. So, I think, so 3 of 30 to get invited is a high percentage.
That's great. Does anybody have any questions or?
Impressive.
Thank you for all the work. I mean, this is
I think
this is not easy.
I can't say enough about the professional development she provided on site for those teachers every day, weekly meetings. We're really trying in the RSU is to actually look at why are we collecting the data, what's our purpose, and what are we reacting to it. And I think Melissa has modeled that 6 weeks in the summer. And so as we're in schools trying to have that happen, we have people who are naturally inclined to be like, yeah, we need to look at this and we need to see what we need to do. So it's changed the lives, I know, of the teachers, because they, will kind of share with me, but the work that you did with them is immeasurable.
Mother dropped her off at 7:30 on her way to work and came out on her lunch break and picked her up every day at noon, and she was very committed. And the 7th grader too, she picked 1 day a week, which was really all I was expecting when I invited them to help. But having all the extra adults is incredibly helpful to the kids as well and the teachers. You can do a lot more of the grouping and regrouping and talking and coaching on the fly when you have that number of adults be working with children.
Great. You all set?
I have one question. Could we get a copy of this as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I know it's hard to read on the screen.
Well, actually, we can't see it at all.
Oh,
this side.
The screen's worse than that.
We can't see it. We see fuzz. I thought it was my glasses.
Okay. No, I will send that to you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on. Next on our agenda, we have an appointment. And I gather this is a replacement.
No.
No, it's not a replacement.
Oh.
So if I could have the motion first, and then Lisa could probably.
I move to approve the following appointment for the 2017-2018 school year. Katrina Frost, special education teacher within primary school. She has a bachelor's degree, hired at a salary of $45,529, which will be prorated to $41,987.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Would you like to give us?
Did you want me to speak to how we ended up with Katrina? As you've heard from our earlier presentations, and where our goal was last year, is we really are trying to get teachers in front of kids, and we appreciate all that our ed techs do throughout the district, but the needs are changing. And so in the previous budget cycle, we had hired some ed techs, and we hired them in one-year positions because our goal is really to, as people retire or move on to new districts, to be able to build our capacity of our special education teachers. So given the needs of the students moving from primary to back to Manchester, we had to have 4 teachers at Manchester, which would have left us with only 6 teachers at Wyndham Primary, and the last year they ran with 7. So in order to keep our numbers in special ed to reasonable groups, because what we were finding is the special ed teachers, and during their individually or specially designed instruction, they were ending up with bigger groups than the Title I group. And so in order to meet the needs of the students and their IEPs and have it be meaningful instruction, we really needed to keep 7 teachers at the primary school. And so we took 3 of the folks who had either retired or resigned for personal reasons, took 3 of those and converted their salary in the budget from ed techs to a teacher. And so we hadn't found the right fit before school started, and so we continued our search, and we're very familiar with Katrina. She's been subbing in our district for many years, and she's filled in for a number of maternity leaves and medical leaves, and I believe now she's actually working on getting her director. So she's committed to special education, and so we had her start the year with a long-term sub so we wouldn't have it vacant, and kept it posted. And so the interview team met. She had applied for the job among with other qualified candidates, and she was chosen by the interview team to come forward as the candidate. So great. Good. You set to vote? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, it is unanimous. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda, from facilities, our Director of Facilities, Bill Hansen, will give us a brief update on the summer projects.
Good evening. I'm Bill Hansen, Director of Facilities, RSU 14. Just want to take a quick minute to say thank you to my staff for all the hard work they did this summer. Every year we turn the buildings upside down, shake everything out, put them back right side up, and put it back together. And it's quite an amazing process we go through. Not many people actually see it. And I was just really pleased with how things came out. We did an awful lot of work. I'm going to highlight the work that's primarily MIP, CIP work. I'm happy to go into more details, but to keep us on track, to not keep it brief. On the main campus, the treatment plant, we made a significant upgrade to the treatment plant, both in process pumping and also site work. If you go down and see it, it looks quite a bit different. If you'd like to have more of a tour, happy to show you that. That's part of a capital reserve project that we put together about 1.5 years ago. It's something that the DEP is quite pleased that we're doing the work, so it's good stuff. Network-wise, you're aware that Bob made a significant upgrade in wireless in the network throughout the district as part of a E-rate project. Also as part of that, we installed the infrastructure for underground fiber between the high school and primary school, with some strategically placed pole boxes in the ground for future expansion should we build in a middle school or expand the underground fiber up towards Field Allen Middle School and the district office. Wyndham High School, the wash pad was installed and the rooftop units were repaired. Those are both MIP projects that we had out there that we have done. We did not remove the stairs. We had planned. The wash pad ended up costing more money than we had planned because we found ledge. Probably not a big surprise for those who built the high school that there was additional ledge there. Wyndham Primary School, the new boiler is 90% complete. We're just waiting for the stack to be installed. The heating system's up and operational. And we did do some flooring as part of the MIP project. A-house carpet was replaced in the A-house first floor, as well as 2 classrooms. Field out. To when the board chooses to move that ahead. The cistern repair work is going to start happening around the 18th of October. I'm working with the Raymond Fire Department. We have a cistern up there, aware of it, that's leaking. We're going to do a confined space entry to get in and see what's going on. We're also going to be pressurizing the pipe between the tank and the dry hydrant to make sure it's not cracked, so we can verify where the leak is. So that will be happening on the end of October. That's in the capital plan. Jordan Small, we got the gym painted on the outside. It looks much better. We're still having some challenges with leaking between the panels that I'll be looking to further reporting back to the board, but it has been painted. The roof has been replaced, the sections we had planned for. The estimated cost to complete the project in the future. So we replaced about half to 2/3 of the roof. The estimated cost to complete the project is around $265,000 for the go forward. Then that roof would be completely replaced. Just for you who remember, the new roof we put on is a membrane roof, exposed membrane roof, a EPDM type style roof, so you can actually see the seams and repair it. The roof we took up was an inverted roof, which means the insulation, rock, and stone were on top of the rubber, so it's very hard to find where the leaks were. And it was a phase project that the board looked at before. We did basically phases 1 and 2, and phase 3 is the remaining portion. And it wasn't phased out based off of equal cost. It was areas in the project that would make sense to stop. You get changes in roof elevation, what have you. We also, if you've been up there, you noticed that we moved the front walkway that was heaving and cracked, and it's been paved. Just to kind of give you a heads up, what we did was that main portion this year, but the bus lane and the sidewalk in the front are in serious need of repaving, so that's going to be something you're going to see in our proposed capital plan for the year coming forward, is to finish that part of it. And what we've done would work right with that. So that's pretty much what I have for a really quick update. Happy to go over more detail and provide these copies of the information to the board. Just want to also thank the board for the support for all this work, because couldn't do it without the funding and the planning for that, which is really important. So it was a busy summer. Again, my staff did a great job, and we were fortunate to have some good weather to move us ahead. So again, anyone who'd like to have a tour of the treatment plant, I'm happy to do that. Just let me know. It's actually a pretty amazing place. It is actually pretty cool. What the thing is, what I found surprising is not many people. They were like, "What's that building?" That's the treatment plant. What's that? That's treats our wastewater. Really? Well, it doesn't smell. No, it actually doesn't smell. So it's pretty cool. Any questions for me?
Just a huge thank you to you, Bill. Honestly, all these years you've been taking care of these buildings, and they look just amazingly well kept, and we really appreciate your service to the district.
Thank you.
No, I second that.
Yeah.
Just like I told you guys before, I go to a lot of schools, and I was at a middle school today that I think I went to school was bad, and I just looked at just the cleanliness, just the outside of the building. Forget condition, I could tell that it was not as long. So, thank you.
Well, thank you.
You are dedicated. I will give you that.
I enjoy what I do, and I work with really great people, so it's a good match. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I move to enter into executive session to discuss RSU 14's emergency management plan as presented by Bill Hanson, Director of Facilities, Property Services, and Special Projects.
All those in favor? It is unanimous. We are in executive session. Okay, we are out of executive session, so we have gone through our emergency management plan. If I could have a motion, please. I move to approve the RSU 14 Main Grade School District's emergency management plan for the 2017-18 school year. Second. We have a motion and second. If we're all set. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, report of the secretary, and I trust, Mr. Hensley, you have reviewed these minutes. I have faith.
No, I really haven't.
I'll make it then. I move to approve the minutes of September 20th, 2017. Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Do we have our buttons
I'm
on?
sorry.
He's waving at us.
I'm sorry. I forgot my button.
Should put yours on.
Okay, everybody's button is on now.
Start over.
We'll have to.
Emergency management.
We should do the motion.
Back to emergency management.
Oh, was your button on when we did?
No, that's who was waving.
Was anybody's on?
No.
Okay.
I move to
Just so it's on
approve.
camera. We're
Yep.
gonna, I mean, because we didn't have our buttons. I'm sorry.
I move to approve the RSU 14 Wyndham Raymond School District's emergency management plan for the 2017-18 school year.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? It is unanimous.
I move to approve the minutes of the September 20th, 2017 meeting.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the minutes of September 20th. If you will all take note, the amendments have been added to the minutes. So unless there's any other questions on this. Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes? Okay, it is unanimous. All right, committee reports. Is there anything from the Finance Committee?
Nope.
Haven't met. Okay, Kate, facilities?
We met before this meeting, and we went over. Sorry, keep going. We went over. Okay, good. We went over the MIP and CIP, which you briefly got, and as I understand it, Bill's going to send out the whole listing so that you can see all the work that was done. Included in that was the RES playground, which you heard about. And then we talked about the application that we put in for a middle school. And I think I've mentioned before, in November, we're having the DOE team come to walk through our building. There will be 3 people permitted from our district to join them, and that will be Drew, who is the principal, Bill, who knows his stuff, and Mr. Davis invited himself. So, and thank you for that. And again, I'm being redundant, but we hope to get our standing in April. However, new information that we learned this evening from Mr. Davis is there apparently are officially 79 applications that were put in. There are 8 more than last time on the list. We were 42 last time on the list. So a lot of it depends on how much money the state is willing to throw into the pot for construction. But if you really want to look at this with a real reality view, the odds of us reaching to the top and being funded are pretty slim. But I still think I'm still pleased that we're going through the process, and we will get their feedback, and we will see where we land. And I think that's an important piece when we move forward, bringing it forth to the public that we've done our due diligence and all of that jazz. So we talked briefly about next steps, and nothing's been finalized about committee work and what the composition of the committee might be, the past work of previous committees and the recommendations, the scenarios that we were left with while we were put on pause, and when we might, I'm probably said this already, whether we would put it on the November ballot. There's a lot of pieces to this, the grade configuration. We've done a lot of legwork, a lot of legwork, and thanks to committee members from the public who have assisted us in this, and Bill certainly, and PDT, we have a framework, some plans. So I guess what I'm saying is we'll be meeting again probably very soon to kind of nail down what our process is, and bring forth perhaps some recommendations for a full board discussion and approval about how to proceed, because certainly this facilities committee is not making that decision. This is a full board discussion and decision about how we want to proceed and when we want to do it, and we certainly, I know all of us can agree, we want to do it right and be really forthcoming and transparent with the public. So that's kind of where we stand. I was disappointed, 79 apps. It was not surprising, but that's the deal. The other piece of news that I think is worthy of us to think about is our middle school population next year, and we're going to verify the enrollment numbers, but it's possible that we might need a double-wide portable there, which would implicate the budget just from approximately $100,000. And this is all estimates, whatever. But I wanted to let you all know that that's a possibility coming down the pike. And finally, the other thing, although we've had numerous demographic studies done over the years, and our most recent one, as Don pulled out tonight at the meeting, was in March, which is fairly current. However, all you have to do is drive around town and you can see a tremendous amount of building going up, and not just single homes, but developments. So we've charged Mr. Davis with asking for whatever company he feels is appropriate to get really, really fresh enrollment figures, projections, because that's going to be really important going forward with grade configuration for a building and just everything. And we're getting it both for Raymond and for Wyndham. So hopefully, I don't know, it was slow going getting the results in the spring, but hopefully we can put a fire under somebody and we can get them very, very soon, because that'll be important for the discussion. I think that's it.
Great, thank you. I'm going to give you a breather for 1 minute. Great, has the technology met?
There's not a committee at this time.
Oh, okay. I know adult, Dawn's not here, but I'm on the adult ed committee, and there have been no meeting notices, so I know there was no meeting of adult ed yet. Kate, policy?
Yes. Marge sent you some information from the DOE, and Eric then followed up, as you know, with a question, well, how does that impact us? And it was really about the graduation policy. And as you know, we had slated that for a reading, and then like, whoa, we got to stop because they were doing some testimony up there. And the long and the short of it is, I think they've gotten enough feedback to know that they're back at square one with the graduation policy, specific to a lot of things, but but for our purposes, the special ed component. So that's kind of on hold. So that's it for that. And my favorite, number 12, facilities. And Mr. Davis was kind enough to do a little bit of homework on that, and it's under review again. So I'm delighted to tell you that we're still working hard on that, and when we're ready, we will definitely bring it forward.
That's the facilities use.
Facilities use. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Some people would say that Mr. Davis is a horse of a different
We did have a meeting with the 2 technical schools, and I think I got, but I was out all day, but I think I got the minutes from them today. I will forward to everybody. Everything is pretty much status quo there. Our numbers remain pretty consistent. They're evaluating constantly every year. They're evaluating what programs work, and one of the big questions that come up is where's your cutoff? You know what I mean? I mean, how small? Because there are a couple of classes there where there's like 5 students in there, but some of them would have that anyway if they were the Tech 2s, because they'd already done half of the program, so you'd have to continue. So they're looking again still at partnering up with businesses, trying to get the information out to parents and to students. And I had asked them before, because I know, and I think they passed a new bill that is going to lower the age of, I forgot what the grade was, down to
I don't remember all the
6th grade. It was middle school, 8th grade, maybe it was 8th grade. But there was one that was before them to lower it, that middle school students could go to technical schools. Is that going to have an effect on us? Not really, because as it is now, right now, I think most of what we have there are juniors and seniors. The only schools that are sending students that younger than that are the ones that are affiliated with the school that's there, like kids from Westbrook. They'll have 9th grade, 9th and 10th graders there, and Paths might have some because they're hooked right up to Casco High School, which is right next door to them. One being, it's usually the same thing. The same thing is the fact that kids can't get credit. The state has not settled that yet as to how do we give them math credits if they take carpentry, where you use, how do you, they are working on it. Both of the schools are working with people in Augusta and anybody else they can work with on it to try to get them so that they can have those as recognized credits for these kids to allow more of the kids to come. They are still partnering with the colleges, so it's going well. There's like so much that goes on at these things, trying to keep track of it all, but it's good. It's good. The newest thing they're looking at is, and I can't remember which school it was, cosmetology. But then there was some consideration on that because, believe it or not, when you do cosmetology, then it's a thing of wastewater. I mean, you have all this other stuff, and so you got to watch what you add to the system, which you wouldn't think. You wouldn't think that much about it, but the programs that they have are going well. For some reason, they've never been able to get the machining, and it's, I don't know, somebody that knows machining, give me the letters. They program now, CD, CAD systems, thank you. CAD systems, I'm talking.
Kind of smart.
CAD, but it's more that, so they're trying to get the information out because there's a lot of businesses. They're coming into the schools all the time looking for help, and they're offering good money for these kids to go there, but it's one of those things you just can't get past that stigma so they're not calling themselves vocational schools anymore. They're calling themselves technical schools. So trying to line themselves up with the STEM and everything else. But we plod on, as they say. So Mr. Prince, do you have anything from your perspective?
A couple things. This year we are going to be upgrading our website. The website's probably 14, 15 years old, and just really it's an opportunity to make sure that the information is provides easy access for our community members. Visually, we'll really want to make sure that it looks nice. The calendar, Jenny, you'll be happy that we'll have a district-wide calendar.
I will be happy.
Right. So anyway, that will be coming on board, I would think, in the next 4 or 5 months. In addition to that, I'd just like to know, yes.
I signed up for all of the listservs to hopefully get all of the information from the other schools, and I still don't get any information from any other school.
Okay. Yeah,
so I wonder if that's.
We'll check on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I know what happened there. Only because I used to get them from every single school, and if it's a similar thing that's going to all the schools, I've all of a sudden I get one.
No, I
Oh, you're not getting any?
Any information I could get from any school, I'm not getting any.
Oh, you're not getting anything. Oh.
Yeah, we'll correct that.
Okay.
Good. The link came out this week, and I hope everybody received one in the communities. And I just have to acknowledge, about 2 weeks ago, I walked into my office, and there were like 100 backpacks, brand new backpacks, that 2 organizations donated to the district. Because there are kids out there that need new backpacks, and they're beautiful. I mean, just gorgeous. So, kudos to the motorcycle group, Brothers Crew of Wyndham. They provided the backpacks, and also Mechanic Savings Bank of Wyndham did that as well. We just deeply appreciate that. And Greg, our van driver, was right into it, putting them in the van and get them to the schools, and I'm sure we have some happy kiddos out there. For the public to know, Chapter 137, which probably doesn't mean anything to you, but the proficiency diploma law is going to be opened up and discussed this year, and I'm sure we'll see a lot of information about that. It's probably good and bad. It's probably good that we go back to the law and tweak it and really make sure that the law is going to really be there to support students. And sometimes when people build these laws, they really don't know the implications or the timetable or the financial costs that go with some of these bills. But this is an important bill, and I just want people to know that we're staying the course with our work, but we will definitely have input into the process of what that bill might look like if any changes come down the pipe.
Last, the Joint Facility Committee.
So this coming Saturday, I believe it is. What is the date on Saturday? My phone's dead. I think it's the 7th. This coming Saturday is going to be a Touch a Truck event at the Wyndham Public Works building. We are trying to generate a informational piece for people that want to learn more about the new shared vehicle maintenance facility. And we are doing a Touch a Truck for the little kids. There will be dump trucks, heavy equipment, rescue vehicles, that will be there, so kids can kind of, get to kind of check those things out while mom and dad is kind of figuring out why the town of Wyndham and the board here has endorsed this new project. Sandy, I sent something to you earlier today in an email, basically what if the listserv, what the listserv should probably say, just a suggestion. So hopefully that will go out tomorrow to all of the parents, including Raymond.
I think that that's also important to include Raymond because there's a lot of residents in Raymond that are kind of wondering how does this project benefit them. So I think that's also important. I think that's pretty much. Oh, and then there's going to be a public forum at the, I believe it's the high school cafeteria, October 12th. Do you know what time that is? I don't know what time it is either. So I will get that information out to everybody as well, but that will also be another informational piece, kind of a question and answer session for anybody that is interested, that would like a little bit more information, that cannot make it to any open house, and that way you can ask any other detailed questions that you may have. So.
Excellent.
Good.
If I don't have a young kid, can I still come touch a child?
Sure. Yeah, as I pointed out to Bill Hansen.
Look at it's right there.
Yeah.
Oh, did you already get that?
It was sitting right there.
Just staring at it.
I haven't even seen that yet.
This is where you normally sit, Scott. This is where you normally
They
sit.
come in the mail.
I haven't.
Whoops, sorry. I think they were yesterday's mail.
Hey, look at this. Wow. All right. Excellent. Cool.
And we do have a tab on our.
Yes, there is a tab. If you go to our website homepage, there is a informational video that is up there. So if you would like some more information, please go check that out. It's actually a pretty good video. And then if you have any questions about that, feel free to email myself. I'd be more than happy to answer those questions.
Can we call you at home?
Sure. Numbers 555 1212.
207. Yeah. Okay. Alrighty, moving on to board roundtable. Jenny? Pete? Take your mic back.
I don't have anything personally other than to say that the tickets for the Wyndham Chamber Singers American Family Holiday Special went on sale, and they went pretty fast. I think there's still some left, but I secured mine first thing. There's 2 shows, 2 o'clock and 7:30 on December 2nd. So if you want tickets, better go out and check for them now.
Will you be scrubbing some after?
No, that's not illegal. That's not legal.
Yeah. Hey,
School fundraiser.
Scott?
Yes, I did mention to the board that I was a little concerned as far as the workers' comp, and I did have a meeting today with Don, and I just want to let everybody know that we are on a path moving forward. And the future does look bright as far as the premiums that are paid out. I am going to do a little bit more work with Bill and Don, but I just wanted to let everybody know that I think that we are on a path headed in the right direction as far as that workers' comp piece goes. So, just to let you know that.
Good. Anna?
I know.
Aw. Eric?
I couldn't say 1,200 tickets sold in the first day.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Next week.
Eric?
Like $30.
32.
32 each?
For the
It
premium
ranges.
seats, but I don't
You're
think
not
there's any of
gonna
those
get
left. Unless you find
Nosebleed.
singles in between people you don't know.
Eric? Nothing? Diane?
I'm good.
Okay,
Statement?
I had a couple of things. One is we had a brief discussion before about the self-evaluation form, so I wanted to kind of get a feel from people whether, and at the time it was kind of like quick, not a lot of discussions, kind of like, yeah, we should get rid of it, so forth. But my thinking is I think it probably needs some discussion before we decide to put it on for a vote, because there were people also that were not there at the time. So I was curious whether there was a consensus that people would like to have a discussion felt it was necessary to have a discussion on, you all know the form I'm talking about, right? The self-evaluation we're supposed to be doing. It is in our policy and recommended by MSMA. Because the more I looked at it, it's kind of like, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem doing it. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's bad. And like somebody mentioned to me, it's kind of like, well, we evaluate everything else. You know, why can't we evaluate ourselves? And it's kind of like, oh yeah. Well. So I guess what I'm asking is, do people want me to put that on the agenda so we can have a discussion on it, or just leave it like it is?
I'd like it to go on the agenda.
Yeah.
You don't have to second it. Yeah, you do.
I would as well.
Just so you know, my wife evaluates me every day, so I feel pretty good.
You want to put it on the agenda for discussion?
Sure.
Okay. Jane. Okay, we'll put it on the agenda for discussion. I was hoping. Oh, see, Pete answered me when I said you were the only one, and I kept saying I'm going to have to bring it up.
Nobody said anything.
No,
Well, so I didn't want to just drop it, but I figured to ask everybody. That was one thing. The other thing was because there was, and again, I read it. I kind of stopped getting all these. I should write them down, all these laws and statutes and everything that I keep getting in the mail. And I don't know, 2-3 years ago, we had meetings on pre-K, starting a pre-K. I can't remember when we did it now, but we had done. We really did the majority of the legwork for it, but it became a thing of there was no money in the budget that year to do it, and the law at that point in time was you had to really put the money up front, and then you would get paid later for it. And it was kind of like, well, we didn't have the money. Well, now there is I'll have to look it up just to verify it. Hold on. I think there's a law out there. They've changed that now you do get the money up front. So I didn't know if people thought that was worth having that discussion again, because now it would not be a financial burden to the residents of both our towns to be able to do a pre-K program. So I didn't know whether you wanted to discuss it again. That was the whole thing. Just, do we discuss it again, or do we let it sit on the shelf? I guess that's what I'm looking for feedback on. Because we do have, and at the time when we talked about it, because we do have the buildings in Raymond are, I think that was how we kind of ended it when we were thinking of it, was, we could start the program up there because at the RES, because they do have the space up there, and start small and work it up, like just have like one grade or 2 grades, and they do have the room for it. So without me going into any more history on that, is anybody interested in opening that conversation up again?
I'm concerned about the law that we are going to have to provide CDS.
It's not a law yet. That's not even written yet. Only because Dave is on the policy committee in Augusta, and he sent that inquiry up to there. They have not seen anything in writing yet. Bill Diamond is also checking it out to see. So I'm not sure where that stands. And I guess, well, maybe the question better than that would be, do people want to wait to see what's going to happen? Because Dave's pursuing that. He is pursuing that up in Augusta. They told him they're going to check into it and, and let him know if it's even written yet, or if it's something that our governor just thinks we should do. So, do you want to wait to see what happens with the CDS kids?
I'm inclined to wait and see how that lands.
Yeah. Because we can do that. I mean, because we've got...
Not that I'm opposed to pre-K,
Yeah.
but if we have to take on a whole new program, and
I'd like to do it in tandem rather than.
Yeah, because it could be, it could be an impact on the other stuff, because that's special.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we have the paperwork. We have all the documentation from before, and we can just hang on to it, and we'll wait and see what happens with the CDS. Okay. Enough of that. There is the dance for the high school is Saturday night. Isn't that cool?
homecoming.
Did you volunteer?
I did not.
I did.
Did you?
I did. I did. I volunteered to chaperone. I got nervous because they sent the thing out. If they didn't have enough chaperones, they couldn't have it.
Yeah.
And I'm sucker. So I got permission from my 2 grandchildren to go to the high school,
Yep.
which I had to do first. And they said it was fine. I've done it before.
On that note, Drew Patton is also looking for chaperones, but I am not allowed to go. Otherwise, my daughter won't go to the dance.
Well, actually, I answered, and that dance is tomorrow night.
That dance is Thursday night.
And I told
Are you
him
gonna
if he was short chaperones, he could contact me and I would come in. Kind of like, but anyway. Okay, Dawn, do you have anything? I don't want to feel like I passed you by there. Okay.
Sweaty teachers.
To adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. One more thing. Then we're going to have this motion coming up. For those of you who are going to the SMMA, our annual meeting this year at the end of October, I think there's just 4 of us. Jenny, Kate, me, Diana. Is anybody else going? Okay.
Get away with you.
It is, but it's really valuable.
It is. It really is. It is great. And we did offer it, so people know, we did offer it to our high school representative, and she couldn't go. But we did offer it to her, so she wanted to go. So I need someone to volunteer.
I did it last year.
I did it the year before.
I did it the year before that.
Kate.
I nominate Miss Kate Briggs to be our guest.
Okay.
All those in favor? I move.
We move vote on Kate.
Didn't I kind of do that? I move to nominate Miss Kate Briggs as our delegate to represent RSU 14 at the MSMA annual meeting, October 2017.
Second.
All those in favor?
Okay, fellas,
Yay!
if she has to go,
All those
I get
opposed?
it. We'll,
All those
everybody has to chip in.
Congratulations.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you for the honor.
Okay, nice motion.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? It is unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you very much for joining us.